Struggles with mental health are an issue for many, including athletes. Research shows at least 35% of elite athletes suffer from mental health challenges like burnout and depression. It's raising concerns in the medical community here in Colorado as suicides among student athletes are on the rise.
Now, for the first time, a mental health and athletics conference is being held in Aurora this month. And your reporter, Kelly Worthman, is going to introduce us to one of the pro athletes that's taking part and why any Colorado athlete can also get involved.
Savannah Coleman has played soccer for as long as she can remember.
Yeah, I would say I became pretty obsessed with soccer at a young age.
That obsession has taken her around the world.
Savannah Coleman makes it 3-0 to the United States.
First playing for youth national teams in middle and high school.
I think I wore this one in a U20 World Cup qualifier in Grenada.
Then scoring a spot on the women's soccer team at Stanford University, earning 2 national championships, and playing at the University of Colorado before being drafted into the National Women's Soccer League.
Washington Spirits select Savannah Coleman from the University of Colorado.
It sounds to me, not only are you passionate about soccer, it's just in your blood. And it consumes you.
I truly couldn't fathom myself without the sport.
While Savannah has found immense success in the sport, it's also, she says, what's brought her to a halt.
I think I was so completely burnt out. And I had no idea.
Savannah says, in hindsight, her mental health began to take a turn while in college, but she did all she could to power through to stay on top of her game.
The anxiety and pressure that came with it, and I didn't even know what all these things were in words and terms, much less how to conceptualize them and verbalize them as feelings or process them.
A reality, she says, that's true for many athletes of all ages.
I think if we could simplify it into one word, a lot of it would come down to identity.
Identity is not just for athletes, but one of the things with athletes is sometimes that starts at a very young age.
Dr. Matt Mishkind is the deputy director of the Helen and Arthur E. Johnson Depression Center at CU Anschutz in Aurora. Part of his work includes studying mental health in athletics. He says there are, of course, healthy factors like being active and part of a team, but there are troubling risk factors too.
Increased rates of anxiety, increased rates of depression. It's actually putting a lot of stress on families and on kids to achieve, to stay with sports, to not necessarily switch sports. So we're seeing that as bringing about some concerns.
Among those concerns, an alarming trend of athlete suicides.
Over the last decade, suicide was the second leading cause of death for NCAA athletes.
A painful truth Savannah knows all too well.
I will never really be able to wrap my head around losing Katie to suicide.
Katie Meyer was Savannah's teammate at Stanford, but they were more like sisters.
I saw myself so much in her.
It's hard to comprehend why Katie is gone. Savannah believes many athletes struggle with mental health, but keep it inside.
And when we put expectations, goals, and just greatness and success over well-being and just the holistic human, which an athlete is, it can be really dangerous.
All the more reason why she is taking part in Dr. Mishkin's Coalition of Athletic Communities for Mental Health Conference, where sports leaders will share their personal experiences to raise awareness and spark important conversation.
A lot of times just having the conversation leads to some relief. It leads to an understanding that I'm not alone, and maybe as a community we can really push change forward.
A change Savannah is eager to be part of, combining her deep passion for sports with her greater passion for helping others.
You can just access hope through one conversation.
Kelly, such a powerful story. I'm just soaking in everything that she was sharing with us. Savannah is amazing, and we so appreciate her sharing her story and her journey as she continues you know, she's a young person and still has so much of love for sport and future ahead of her.
Right.
What was your biggest takeaway as you talked with her and dug into this?
Well, she's so well spoken, right? I mean, to be able to be that vulnerable with her emotions and that honest about, you know, what she's passionate about. Obviously, soccer is a big love of hers, but so is talking about this. And one thing that I thought was just really profound was that she said, listen, I'm still obsessed with soccer. That will never change. But by having these really important conversations around mental health with her friends, with fellow athletes, she has come to realize that soccer is not it's what she does. It's not who she is, right? So to be able to separate sports a little bit from that identity that you heard both Savannah and Dr. Mishkin talk about.
And speaking of talking about this, how can people get involved if they want to join in on the conversation? Because it's so crucial that we talk about this.
Absolutely. And it's not just for athletes, right? This is centered around the athletic community, but more than athletes are invited. This is open to the public. However, we should mention that student athletes all across Colorado can register for this 2-day conference for free, which I think is really incredible. This has garnered attention from athletes in Canada, in Australia. I mean, so this is getting an international look at what is something that we all can relate to, what I think parents can relate to. There's also a virtual option if you can't attend in person, which is there at the CU Anschutz Medical Campus in Aurora. You'll find all the information on how to register at cbscolorado.com.
Yeah, so many young athletes out there watching this right now, their parents, and hopefully they'll get involved in this because the virtual aspect's great too.
Absolutely. Yep. It's coming up next week.